Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn, and this is Inside Indy, and we're having a celebration on today's show. We're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Central Library in downtown Indianapolis, and here he's got the cake and ice cream and balloons. Mike Williams, you are the Central Library Manager for the Indianapolis Public Library. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today, Kelly.
Man, I mean, 100 years for the building downtown, which we know where it is, but just in case there are a few people who don't.
Sure. 100 years of Central Library located at 40 East St. Clair, the corner of Meridian and St. Clair
Street. Okay.
8 blocks north of the Circle.
Wow. Wow. Now, that's interesting you say 100 years, so there's some prehistory to that?
Yes.
Okay, so take us back to the beginning then.
The library was actually founded in 1873.
Okay.
So in those days, the library went through several homes until finally the librarian at the time, Eliza Browning, insisted to the school board, because the library was part of the public schools in Indianapolis in that era, that Central Library needed its very own building designed as a library, not as a room in a building designed for other things, or even a house. We were in a couple houses.
I was going to say that. You mentioned the word home, and I wanted to get to that. Like,
we were
it was
actually
in a
located
house.
in a house a couple journeys along the way. There was a house on the Circle that the library occupied for a time.
Are you kidding?
Then the school board built a building and had a lovely statue on it. That statue we've actually carried with us. It's still part of Central Library today. It's on the 9th Street entrance. It's the Bach statue. It was located when the building was at Ohio and Meridian, much closer to the Circle. But the city grew and grew. We kept outgrowing spaces. And finally, it was determined that we needed a building just to house the main part of the public library, all our own. There was a competition for the architect, and the architect that won, a Frenchman located in Philadelphia, Paul Cray. Cray's design won the competition, and ultimately Cray's firm was commissioned to do all of the design work that resulted in this beautiful limestone monument that is Central Library today.
Okay.
Affectionately, we call it the Cray Building after its designer. And there's a couple stories about him, too.
Yeah, okay, well, let's hear them. Tell us about this
Paul Cray
architect.
was very much an up-and-comer. He designed this building as a very young man, young architect. But he didn't get to see the building actually built. I mentioned he was a Frenchman. We're talking 1916, 1917. What happened in those years? World War I. Paul went home to serve his native country of France and actually spent World War I in a trench in France.
Oh, wow.
He was bilingual, so he actually did a lot of translation service and also did some architectural work designing trenches, as it were.
Oh, wow.
So this legend has always been, we don't have any absolute confirmation of this, but it's too good a story not to share. All architects send back all of these things called change orders as a building is being built. Do you want it this? Do you want it that? Does it need to be blue? Does it need to be red?
Yeah.
He's sending back change orders from the trenches in France to his colleague C.C. Zantzinger, who was actually the man on the ground overseeing the completion of the building, because Cray couldn't be there. He was drafted and in France, fighting the war.
So while he's serving his country, he's out there designing something for the United States, right?
Exactly. Fortunately for all of us and for him, he survived the war just fine, came back, went on to a distinguished career in architecture and design. And a little side note, he actually did some design work on the Santa Fe Super Chief train. He did railroad car interiors. So he just did lots of things over a long career as an architect. And he also taught in the Philadelphia School of Architecture.
Okay.
So,
and I'll have to ask you when we're done with the interview about the rail cars, because that's a part of my family history in terms of maintaining one of the great rail cars that served the wealthy or something back in the early 1900s. So you may have some history notes on that as well. So then the particular building that's there now has it's actually expanded even
It
since
has.
then, right?
It has. It has. It's been expanded a couple times and, sort of changed as the city has changed and our needs have grown and changed. The original Cray building comprises the limestone portion at the front of the Central Library complex.
Okay.
So the historic front stairs, those grand staircase you walk up from St. Clair, and then the two side wings, the east and west reading room.
I know exactly.
The
where
main reading room is now called the Simon Reading Room, after a generous donation from the Simon family.
Okay.
On the plans, it's called the delivery room because the service model in those days was very, very different. You would check the catalog and decide, I want this book. Fill out a little slip, and a library worker would go off in the stacks and bring you the book that you requested. You didn't go off and browse the stacks on your own in those days.
Really?
But Eliza Browning fought and won to actually have books on the main floor. So there really were books that people could see when they walked in 1917,
So why
which
did
was
they
a
do that back
revolution.
then, though? What was were they afraid people would take them, or what?
They might not know how to properly care for and handle a book.
If they only knew today.
Exactly. The concept of a board book that we give infants now just would have been horrendous to that time. Very different time. And now, of course, it's a big thing. You have to display all the best sellers.
Yeah.
And the Simon Reading Room, in fact, is our reconfiguration of Central Library that happened earlier this year, is now all of the new books that we've just acquired. So they're all on display right there for everybody to come in and see.
Okay.
So it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah.
Around 2000, it was determined that the 70s era annex that had been added to Central Library was inadequate. Once again, we outgrew the space that we built, and it needed to come down to make way for the grand tower that is there now.
It's gorgeous too.
Thank you. Evans Woolen was the architect chosen for that iteration of Central Library, and he created a glass and steel tower that actually connects to the Cray building. He was a fan of Paul Cray.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so he knew his history.
He knew his history.
Had a feel
so
for his design.
Exactly. And he wanted to have a building that would actually embrace the smaller, lower Cray building built of limestone.
Wow.
To sort of give it a hug. And
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
does. If you walk south of Central Library and look north, that you're at the War Memorial, looking north, you'll see that.
'Cause it kind
the
of on the
tower
backside
is,
has a
is an
rounded-
arc. It's almost
yeah.
like a one half of a parenthesis. So it really does embrace the smaller building.
Wow.
But being stainless steel and glass, it doesn't glower over it as a brutalist architecture if it were all cast concrete would.
'Cause that's a huge transition there. I mean,
It
when you talk
is.
about historically and
It
how many
is.
years, yeah, and so were there any particular challenges that he faced in trying to put the past and the present together?
I think he faced a lot. One of the main things that we accomplished with the transformation of Central Library was the connection between the two. And that's done with the atrium. It functions literally as a bridge. The Cray building, remember, is sort of a U-shaped kind of a thing. But that atrium connects the tower and the historic building, all under glass, 5 stories high at its peak. And it also gave us a wonderful space that we can use for all sorts of different uses and programmings, including weddings and big receptions and corporate dinners and stuff after hours.
I heard.
So we get to use that space as a revenue generator for the library, which
Just great.
every dollar counts. And that's important.
Okay. So I know it being your 100th birthday celebration,
Yes.
so you have some special activities planned around that?
We do. We
Okay.
do. We've got lots of things coming up throughout the month of September, leading up to the big day, which is actually October 7th,
Oh, okay.
2017, which is the grand opening day of the Cray building 100 years before, October 7th, 1917. So it worked out swell.
Okay.
We really get to celebrate on the day.
On the
And
day
it was
of.
convenient that it was a Saturday, so everybody can come.
Okay.
We will have the Philharmonic Quintet doing some lovely 1917 era music. So no Glenn Miller yet.
Okay.
Then we'll have the Indianapolis Children's Choir
Oh, nice.
sing the Messiah of Nations, which was sung at the grand opening and the cornerstone laying. We'll have some folks wandering about in costume, portraying some 1917 characters.
Nice, nice.
And of course, there will be cake.
Of course.
Lots and lots of
I
cake.
was wondering you're going to get the cake, Mike.
So, we'll have a lovely proclamation from the mayor, I'm sure, and other dignitaries, proper speechifying as befits such a sincere occasion. But then we'll also have tours. We've got architectural tours planned in September. We'll have tours day of, lots of activities for children. They may make their own time capsule.
Nice.
One of the things we're working on is trying to get access to the time capsule that's in Central Library
That's
now
what I
in
heard.
the Cornerstone.
So there's a challenge, but
There's a challenge. Time capsules don't come out easily when they were planned to be there forever until the building was destroyed. Obviously, we're not going to destroy such a magnificent building. So it's a little tricky to get what's inside that time capsule. We have a list of what's in there, but we'd like to actually see it. So we're working on that. That's a challenge we're undergoing right now. We'll also have a photo contest throughout.
nice.
We hope to kick off September 1st, and it'll run past the actual Centennial Day. And then that'll give us a lovely exhibit by citizen photographers that we'll be able to show through the end of the year. So hopefully some of them will actually come on the 7th, take some pictures, enter them in the contest.
Okay. So now, what are the hours of the big celebration, or is it an all-day thing when you come down?
It's most of the day, but the choir will be singing at 11 in the morning. We open at 10 a.m. Then we'll have the choir and the speeches and such pretty much from 11 to noon, and then cake and celebration continuing on into the afternoon.
Nice, nice. Okay.
So we do have to host a wedding at 5, though, so we've got to wrap up the public celebration in order to
get the wedding going. Okay.
close up and have some other folks enjoy their celebration after hours.
Okay. So now, where can people go if they want to see? Because again, you mentioned activities start in September, leading all the way up to October.
Always check out the library's website, indypl.org. That's where the calendar of events and all these special things live. You can also get an interesting look at Central Library through the website at our Digital Indy project. That's where we have digitized lots and lots of cool things, including Paul Cray's 100-year-old plans.
Oh, wow.
We've digitized all those, and everybody can look at them.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Well, we appreciate the invitation to your birthday party. Mike Williams, who is the Central Library Manager for the library downtown. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
On Inside Indy. And when we come back, we're going to get wigged out, a locally produced motion picture with Sandy Rusk after this. And we're back, and in the second half of Inside Indy, we're getting wigged out.
Yes.
And I do mean that literally.
Yes.
Here to help us do that is Sandy Rusk, and you are the executive producer of a motion picture called Wigged Out.
That's exactly right.
Welcome to Inside Indy.
Well, thank you for having me back again, Kelly.
In fact, Sandy was my very first guest
I know.
on
And
Inside
that's
Indy.
6 years, how could it be
Yeah.
so long? And then, of course, the last time I was here, we just had the script only of the movie. It was way before production had begun, so time just goes so fast.
I know, but you got it done.
We did.
It's now a
yes.
motion picture.
Yes.
Tell us about Wigged Out. And I love the cover for your movie and for your DVDs.
Thank you. This is actually representing the film, of course, and our lead actress, who is Georgia Simmons from Carmel High School.
Oh, nice.
We filmed the movie in July of 2015, and at the time, Georgia Simmons was a high school 16-year-old. and she actually shaved her head for the lead role in the
Did she?
movie. Yes,
Wow.
super exciting. And as you know, Kelly, Wigged Out is inspired by my daughter Olivia, who has the medical condition alopecia. And we did film the movie just right around in this local area. Most of the scenes right here in Noblesville and Fisher's Carmel and the Castleton area, just kind of in this whole location.
Okay. Okay. Tell us about alopecia and what it is, and then I want to talk too more about that whole process of developing a motion picture and how that happens here in Indianapolis. But tell people what alopecia is.
Sure, it is. It's actually an autoimmune condition. It's a medical condition that is very random. It can hit anyone at any time. There does not seem to be any medically diagnosed cause for the condition. But basically, yes, it just happens, and it can happen to anyone. And it's basically where your immune system attacks your hair and makes your hair fall out. So some people end up just having spots of hair loss, and then it may regrow and then never have a problem again. Some people lose all the hair on just their head and retain the rest of their body hair, and then some people lose the hair on their entire body. So there's like 3 forms or stages, I guess you could say, of the condition. Now, my daughter Olivia has had all of those at some time during her life. She's 20 now.
Wow, bless her heart. She's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
Olivia.
You.
So,
Thank you.
so now, when did you first know? Is that something that you know when she was born? What happened in her case?
No, it happened very suddenly. She was born. She had normal hair, and when she was 18 months old, I just got a call one day from her daycare provider, and she said, "Sandy, what happened to the spot on Olivia's head? Did she get a hold of your razor?" And I was like, no, not sure what you're talking about. So when I came to pick up Olivia that day, she showed me, and it was about the size of a quarter, and it was just on the top of her head, and it almost looked like hair had never been there. And I was perplexed by it, but I wasn't too overly concerned yet. But then literally within a matter of 4 weeks, all of her hair fell out.
Are you serious?
And it was extremely devastating as a mom. At that time, the medical community did not have really very many answers. They just said, well, it's an autoimmune condition. We don't really know what's going to happen. She could regrow her hair. She may never regrow her hair. Just be glad it's not something worse. And as a mom, I didn't want to hear that.
Right, no. I mean, and it is
bald
not
2-year-old
necessarily-
daughter.
Yeah, it's not life-threatening, but it is threatening in the sense of what she might face, and what did she face through the years? Because now you're through that, and she's 20. But what did she face over the years?
Well, it was certainly life-altering, and I think it was probably more difficult on me as her mom than her. Now, keep in mind, at the time she was 2, so she really didn't, get it. But I went through a mad rush of visiting different doctors, trying different topical medications, but with very limited success. Now, for a brief time, by the time she was 4, most of her hair did regrow. And then from ages 4 to 8, she had most of her hair back, but she always had random spots. Now, I figured out if you put a headband on, kind of flip the hair back, and you could kind of hide all that. So when she started her first years of preschool and first grade, she appeared to have normal hair. But then between going into 3rd grade is when it just randomly happened again. Wow. And at that point, she lost all of her hair, body hair, everything, eyelashes, eyebrows, everything. And she was 8 years old at that time, and it has not regrown. She is totally bald. She did get her eyelashes back, which she likes.
Okay.
she loves her mascara and her eye makeup, but the rest of her body hair, she didn't have to shave her legs or anything now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Which I guess some would think that's the upside. But
Exactly. But something that could have devastated her life ended up bringing a lot of amazing opportunities to her, because she ended up becoming a motivational speaker, and she turned her hair loss into a platform to basically show others that it's okay to be different. And as a mom, that was something I had to kind of learn from her, because
she taught you.
She did, because I grew up in the Marsha Brady era, where you had to have long, straight, parted down the middle, waist length, blonde hair, and you had to weigh 92 pounds.
Right.
You know, and
Which I don't fit any of those, especially the 92
well,
pound part.
most of us didn't, but you know, at that time, diversity just wasn't really accepted or encouraged, and so for me to kind of grasp that I could have a bald daughter and it would be okay, and she would still be viewed as beautiful, that was something that it took me a while to kind of get used to.
And you're thinking as a mom, what might she go through?
Exactly.
Yeah. So was there much bullying?
Ironically, with Olivia, no. And I think that was because she was just so confident. She would walk into a room and just be like, I'm here.
I wish you would, kind of.
Well, no, it wasn't so much
There's something
that.
about her strength, though, that says that. Like, you wouldn't even dare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that day when she was in third grade, she did have a custom wig for a while. And one day she literally just said, I'm done, I'm taking it off, I'm going to school without it today. And I was like, what? You had waist length hair yesterday, you can't just show up with no hair. And she insisted. And I think the fact that she was brave enough to just march into school that day and be like, okay, this is me. And the teacher explained it to the kids too, of course, as to what was going on. But that day kind of changed the whole direction of her life and, well, basically both of our lives.
Yeah. And it's even gotten national attention. I think I saw on one of the websites, were you out in New York?
Yes.
What show was that?
She was on the Today Show in New York. She has been a motivational speaker from the time she was 10 years old and has spoke to over 75 audiences as far away as LA and New York and Texas, all around Indiana, surrounding states. So her story just really evolved into something to inspire others. So.
Okay. So tell us about the movie.
Okay.
And so I take it it's a part of her life? You're telling
It is. What we did is we took our story and somewhat fictionalized it to make it a little bit more entertaining. In the movie, the mother, she is an ex-beauty queen who owns a hair salon. So it's kind of the quirkiness of here's this mother who has always been about hair and beauty and, you know, fitting in, and then she suddenly has a daughter with no hair. So we kept it a little lighthearted. There's a little bit of comedy to the movie, and but in the end, of course, there's the positive message of, you know, the daughter is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we've got just about a minute and a half left, but I want to ask you, so what is it like to just decide to do a motion picture that now the world can be a part of?
Well, you know, I'd never produced a movie before, but I'm very tenacious, and I just decided I'm going to figure out how to do this. And I was lucky that I did not have to go out and get investors, or I didn't take out any loans. Just literally kind of by the seat of my pants, I like to say. I was able to pull together a team. You met Kate Chaplin, who's from right here in Noblesville. She is a director, and she had produced several, I think 13 movies, and she really knew how to kind of pull the team together. And so we just decided to do it and cast and found locations, and of course we had script that I showed you last time I was here. Had several revisions on that, and
there you go.
Yeah.
How can people get a copy of Wigged Out and a part of this story?
Well, actually, it's we just released DVD sales online to the movie. If you go to our website, which is oliviascause.org, you can actually order a DVD online. We have done quite a few local screenings. We've been in some film festivals. We've won some awards. So
nice.
The movie's being received very well.
Okay, and she's working on a television project. You'll come back and talk about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You just let me know when, Kelly.
Okay, that may be airing even on TV 40 nationally.
I know.
We'll
we have
see.
some meetings about that coming up too.
Yeah, so you're an incredible lady. Sandy Rusk,
thank you.
executive producer of Wigged Out. Get your copy and get your popcorn and watch.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Inside Indy. And thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
You don't want to go in there today. Your mother is entering a special kind of crazy.
Get ready for your first place pageant trophy.
Seriously.
I tried to tell you.
I've already entered. Does Doesn't that sound like fun?
I would rather be on a skateboard than a stage.
This is Miss Laura Lee Nightingale, your pageant coach.
I shaped it. I figured you'd just want to start from scratch with me. I'm kidding. I have alopecia. It's not a big deal. Hi, I'm Olivia Warren. I'm 16 years old, and I'm the one.
What is beauty? Beauty is a rainbow, a new puppy, or the knowledge that people feel better when they look at me.
I want you to start practicing in these.
What did I just get myself into? Hi, I'm Olivia Warren. I'm convinced my mom's lost her mind. And did I mention I'm the one?
You don't think you're good enough. You don't think that you're gonna match up to the other girls.
Got a plan. It's all gonna work out.
Work out! You told the whole town that the resident bald girl's gonna be a laughingstock in the pageant world.
Why would I need an edge over a bald skateboarder?
Hi, I'm Olivia Warren, and there is no way I'm the one.
People are always saying how lame pageant girls are. Wouldn't this be the most awesome time to prove them all wrong?
No wigs. You look like $1,000,000. Really? Cause I'm kind of feeling like a $12.50 right now.
Remember, no one needs to know about your alopecia. You're just like everybody else.
If you could have one wish besides world peace, what would it be?
I wish